The 7th of December 1941 is a date which truly has lived in infamy. The attack on Pearl Harbour saw 21 American ships damaged or destroyed and led to the deaths of almost 2,500 Americans. This brutal attack was meant to immobilise the USA, preventing them from interfering in Japan's illegal seizure of oil-rich territories in Southeast Asia. However, this attack far from immobilised the Americans, and just over 2 years later, Japan would fall victim to a massive assault on their main naval base in the South Pacific during Operation Hailstone. This Japanese naval base was located on the Truk Atoll, a Central Pacific lagoon now part of the federated states of Micronesia. The Japanese had acquired this island during World War I and had spent significant resources turning it into one of the most heavily fortified bases in the region. Truk served as the forward anchorage for the Imperial Japanese fleet and soon became the most feared of all the Japanese strongholds. The base housed many important Imperial Japanese naval facilities, including 5 airstrips, an array of seaplane bases, a torpedo boat station, and several submarine repair shops. These facilities were protected by a vast array of man-made and natural sea defences, 27,000 IJN servicemen and 16,000 IJA servicemen. Truk's position and coral reefs made it almost impervious to attack, making it the natural home for the Imperial Japanese Navy's combined fleet. Due to its functionality, position, and heavy fortifications, Truk soon became the major logistical and operational hub supporting Japanese perimeter defences in the Central and South Pacific, resupplying Japanese forces in Rabaul and the Marshall Islands. Its significance to the Japanese and heavily fortified defences earned it the nickname the Gibraltar of the Pacific, while other Allied generals compared it to the US Navy's Pearl Harbour. However, despite its infamy and heavy defences, the Japanese were not confident that the base could withstand an Allied assault. They therefore began withdrawing fleet units in October 1943 and began upgrading the base's defences in preparation for an inevitable attack. Fearing that aircraft at the base could interfere with the impending invasion of Eniwetok in the Marshall Islands, the United States planned a daring attack on Truk at the end of 1943, beginning Operation Hailstone. In early February 1944, Vice Admiral Mark Mitcher arrived in Truk's vicinity with 3 of Task Force 58's 4 carrier task groups. This included 5 fleet carriers, 4 light carriers, 7 battleships, 10 cruisers, 28 destroyers, 10 submarines, as well as 560 aircraft. The Japanese soon spotted 2 B-24 Liberator bombers on a reconnaissance mission and realised that an Allied attack of Truk was imminent. The Japanese began a frantic, accelerated evacuation of Truk, withdrawing all heavy naval assets and taking as many supplies as they possibly could with them. However, after weeks of high alert, the Japanese had grown complacent. The IJN's 22nd and 26th Air Flotillas were enjoying shore leave, meaning that there was no active air patrol. And so, in the early hours of the 17th of February 1944, 3 American carrier task groups moved into position and launched their first fighter sweep. Japanese radar technology was very limited and could not detect low-flying planes, thereby giving the Americans the element of surprise. With only a few minutes' warning, the Japanese rushed to their cockpits. Of the 300 Japanese planes on Truk, only about half were in working order, leaving them overwhelmed and outnumbered by the 560 American warplanes. The outcome was very predictable. Of the 80 Mitsubishi Zero warplanes, as many as 30 were shot down in the ensuing chaos. In comparison, only 4 American Hellcats were lost. As American Hellcats inflicted a decisive victory in the air battle, torpedo and dive bomber squadrons began assaulting the facilities on Truk. American Avengers dropped fragmentation and incendiary bombs on the runways of Etten Island, as well as on the seaplane bases of Moen Island. Approximately 40 more Japanese aircraft were destroyed, further diminishing any hope they had of repelling this overwhelming attack. Meanwhile, bombers and submarines targeted merchant ships. One Avenger secured a direct hit on the ammunition ship Ikoku Maru. The subsequent explosion engulfed the bomber, killing all 3 men inside. However, their brave actions would send the 160-metre ship to the bottom of the ocean in under 2 minutes. By this point, the Japanese were well aware that all hope was lost and a full evacuation was ordered. The remaining Japanese vessels, including one Katori-class cruiser, one auxiliary cruiser, two destroyers and one minesweeper, steamed for the North Pass exit, American bombers hot on their tail. After incessant bombing, the Japanese warships were heavily damaged, with the Katori-class cruiser apparently completely immobile. In a highly contentious and arguably risky move, Admiral Spruance engaged the Japanese warships in ship-to-ship combat, with Admiral Mitscher calling off the bombing attacks. The overwhelmed and damaged ships did not stand much of a chance against Spruance's task group, composed of 4 destroyers, 2 heavy cruisers and 2 new battleships. The result of this battle was never in doubt. However, due to Admiral Spruance's insistence on ship-to-ship combat, the Japanese had one last chance to regain some honour. One of their destroyers, the Maikaze, fired a torpedo at the brand new battleship, the New Jersey. Fortunately for Admiral Spruance and the New Jersey crew, the torpedoes missed, and the battle ended with the destruction of all but one of the Japanese warships. The attack on Truk was a catastrophic loss for the Japanese. 17,000 tons of fuel were destroyed in the bombings, while 200 tons of shipping had been sunk. The USA lost 25 aircraft and 40 were killed, while also sustaining minor damage to 1 battleship and 1 fleet carrier. In comparison, the Japanese lost 2 light cruisers, 4 destroyers, 3 auxiliary cruisers, 6 auxiliary ships, 1 aircraft ferry, 2 submarine tenders, 3 smaller warships, and 32 merchant ships. This accounts for almost 1/10 of the total Japanese losses between the 1st of November 1943 and the 30th of June 1944. In addition, the Japanese lost over 250 aircraft, while 4,500 servicemen were killed, almost double the death count of Pearl Harbour. The loss of Truk put the Japanese in a precarious position, putting the shipping lanes between the oil-rich East Indies and Japan at increased risk. Furthermore, Operation Hailstone, alongside the concurrent invasion of Eniwetok, paved the way for the successful invasion of Saipan, a victory that would put Japan in range of US bombers for the first time and spell the beginning of the end for the Empire of Japan.